In this video, I'm going to show you an overview how I edited my short film in Adobe Premiere. Hello, my name's Stuart Wood and welcome to this video. Now, last week I released my short film Little World, which was made from the video a couple of weeks ago where we was playing with milk, oil and paint and soap solution. Now, a lot of people have commented on it and they love it. I want to thank each and every one of you who commented on that video. It's really, really much appreciated, okay? But a couple of people commented on how did you create it. So first of all, I'm going to look in the description. So look in the description. Up here somewhere, there's a link to the video where we create the elements, which is where we're playing with the paint and the soap solution, the milk and all that, okay? So look at that first. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I edited that short film on Adobe Premiere. So first of all, Adobe Premiere is my choice of software. If it's not yours, that's great. Go with whatever you want to use. You can use a DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro. It doesn't matter what software you use. It's the final result that counts. So this is my final timeline of that particular project. Like I said, it's had a great response on YouTube, which is really, really nice. Now, this video is only going to be an overview. I'm not going to edit the entire timeline. I'm just going to do a section on it because once you know how to do the first few seconds, basically it's rinse and repeat for the rest of the video. So first of all, I'm going to come over to this tab here, which is my demonstration project, okay? And I want to talk about the footage because I've already picked out some footage for this tutorial because that takes hours to pick out your footage, and if I was to show you that, you're talking this might be 8 hours long, and I don't think you want to sit through 8 hours of me just sifting through footage. But I do have 3 different types of footage, which you can see here on the timeline there that I've marked up: purple, blue and green. First of all, the purple one is full HD at 60 frames a second. Again, watch that video if you want to see how it was filmed. The blue one is 4K at 24 frames a second. That's using the EOS R. And the last one, which is green, is full HD at 60 frames a second, except the dish I used was on a little turntable. So if I show you this piece of footage now, you'll see that it turns very slowly, and that just gives a little bit of extra dimension to the video. So I'm just going to look at this footage now, and I am editing on 2 BenQ SW270C monitors. A couple of people asked me why am I using 2. Video editing is the main reason why I use 2. So as you can see on the camera, I have my timeline all on here, all my effect panels all on this monitor, and on the second monitor is over here, just out of frame, I have a full size preview of the actual video. So when I'm playing it back, I'm always looking on this monitor. Both of them are color calibrated as well. BenQ monitors, very nice. My review coming perhaps at the end of this week. No, so we'll stop that. And this is where I got bogged down. This is the hardest part of doing this type of video, and that's finding the soundtrack. It's taken me months to find the soundtrack, and in the end I went to Epidemic Sound. Now, I'm not sponsored by Epidemic Sound. I'm not giving you a coupon code or anything like that. It's just that I like their service, so that's why I thought I would mention it. And we're going to be using Signal to Noise by Hampus. Oh, sorry, mate, I'm butchering your name, but anyway, that's the person that makes this music. And on Epidemic Sound, you can download the full wave file, or you can get the stems. And I like to use the stems because if we use the stems, we can individually turn the volume up or down, or cut out a specific part of the tune to match your video. Now, as it turns out, I didn't need to do that for my video, which was nice. I'm just going to bring these in, and I'm just going to layer them on top of each other. Get the video files out of the way, because I want to keep everything neat. And that is very important. If you try and keep your timeline neat, it's a lot easier to edit in the future. That's the song we're going to use. I like the song. It fits very well. A lot of people commented that it does fit it very well. Alright, so we have the music in place, okay? And what I want to do is I want to cut to the beat of the music. So when there's a change in the beat in the music, or to the beat, we're going to have a cut to the footage. So we're going to have a transition. So to do that, there's an easy way to do that, and we can mark up the song using markers. And we're going to play through this now. You can see there, if you look on this timeline here, let me just move this down, you can see the peaks in the audio files, as well as here and here. And that's what we're going to edit to. So where that little peak, right there, I'm going to right click on the timeline and add a marker. Now you can see a marker come in here, and that's because I had that audio file selected. We don't want that. So you've got to unselect any audio file and then just go onto your timeline, right click, add marker, and we get this little marker that comes in there. So what happens now is when we're editing this footage, it will snap to that marker, which is fantastic and makes your future editing on this so much more quicker. To add these markers, we're going to make sure we haven't got any audio file selected, and there's a shortcut key on Premiere, which is M, to add a marker to our timeline. So I'm going to play through this for the first part of the song and add markers, and you'll see that now. So every time I hear a change or the beat, I'm going to add a marker down. That's our first one. There's our second one. Third. I'm just going to continue now for a little bit. And you can see it on the timeline, on the actual audio file, the waveform. You can see it on the waveform where you want to be putting your markers on. We'll do one more. There. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to edit, because the rest of it is literally rinse and repeat, exactly the same procedure. So next what we want to do is we need to zoom all the way in. Okay, and we want to make sure we have these markers in the right place. That one's okay. This is just a double check, it saves a lot of hassle later on. Get to the next marker. You can see there how we've missed the beat by 2 frames. So we're going to go through here now and just, when you get one that's like that, it's halfway between the frame, just select the nearest frame basically. And of course, if I'm doing any of this wrong or you have a better solution, let me know in the comments below, okay? The next step you don't have to do, you can go straight into editing your footage, but I like to do this next step. It's just a double check procedure to make sure that your markers are in the correct place. I'm going to add now a new colour matte. This one's going to be black. I'll call it black. And I'm going to add another colour matte, which is now going to be white. And all I'm going to do is just drag these onto my timeline, stretch them out so it clips onto the mark. And you can see there how it automatically clips to the marker. So I'm just going to do this now for the whole timeline. And if you want to copy a section of footage, just select it, hold the Alt key down and then just drag it, and that will copy that particular file. I'm just going to do this quickly and then we'll come back to when I've finished doing it. Okay, there we go. So now we are going to preview this now. You'll see it turning from black to white to black to the beat of the music. If it's not, you'll notice it and you'll be able to correct it. That's our first cut. And our second cut. You can see there, basically what we've done is we have created a template for this tune now. Okay. And you also have the option now, we can save this out as a project that you can bring into future projects, and you already have a template for that tune. So if you have a tune like I do with my Macro Adventures, where I'm using the same music in multiple files, you can save this out now, just bring it in, and you've already got your clips and your markers in place, and all you got to do is replace this footage now with the clips you want to use. Let's get on and talk about our files, slow motion, frame rates, you know, the complicated stuff that people keep getting wrong on YouTube. Right, so I'm going to come over here now. Let's grab these guys. And what I want to do now is I want to select our hero clip, and that is going to be the one for when it ramps up here. I want a hero clip just there. And our intro clip, that's the very first piece of footage you see. Now obviously I've already edited this, so I know which ones to use. I'm going to go with this one here. Okay. And I don't feel that needs to be slowed down, but I do want to talk about frame rate. So let's get him over there. Let's bring this guy up here. And what I want to do is I want to slow this piece of footage down for when I use it. So I'm going to talk about frame rate now, so that you can get it in your head as to exactly how to do this. I'm shooting at 60 frames a second. It's 59.9 something, and we're on a 24p timeline, which is 23.9. It gets confusing, but I know that I can slow this footage down to 40% without it skipping. So if I come here now, I'll try and demonstrate this, but you're watching this on YouTube, so it's going to be hard for me to demonstrate this, unfortunately. I'm going to slow it down to 20. Let me just move that to that timeline first. And what happens is I'm slowing this down more than what there are available frames. So what happens is the computer tries to fill in what it thinks is in between the frames. Okay, so I'll put it to 5% just to over exaggerate the issue, and you can see how it's skipping because I've slowed it down too much. Okay. And this, I've seen it on a lot on YouTube, where you got some nice B-roll and something will come in like that, and all of a sudden it will go bink like that, because it's the wrong frame rate for the timeline, and the computer has to try and work out or fill in the frames, and it's janky. So from my numbers, I know I can go down to 40% before the computer has to try and fill in frames. And I'm going to show you now how you can work that out. So that is my footage slowed down to 40%, which I think is brilliant. So instead of me telling you what percentage to use for your timer, because if you're shooting at 25 frames a second, it's not going to be 40%. You know, if you're shooting at 120 frames a second, it's not going to be 40%. Okay, but I'm going to show you how to work that out now. Right, let's go over here. It's another reason why I use two monitors, because it's easier to do this stuff. We're going to go to percentage calculator, and the section we want to use is this second part here. So we know that our timeline is 23.976. So we're going to type that in here now. 23.976. Okay. Our particular footage that we are slowing down is 59.94. We type that in the second box. 59.94. Calculate 40%. Let's say you've got 120 frames a second. Okay, you're editing on a 24p timeline. You have 120 frames a second. You can slow that down to 19.98% before you start introducing artifacting, or skipping as I like to call it, in your B-roll. If you're editing on a 30p timeline, which is 29 something, but I can't remember it, you can slow that down to 25%. So that is how you work out how much you can slow down your footage on the timeline you're using, so you don't get that irritating skipping that you see on a lot of YouTube videos. Okay, so now that being said, what I want to do is get these bits of footage in place. So we're going to go with our intro shot and the outro shot. And on this one, which is 4K, okay, so let's talk about 4K footage on a 1080p timeline. 4K footage on 1080p timeline, I can move the frame around without losing any detail. I can zoom out. Yeah. So I can go to 50%. Let me just reset that. There you go. I can go to 50% and we're not losing any detail. So on this particular frame, you'll see how it starts to explode right there. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to zoom this into 75%. Again, we're not losing no detail. And I'm going to reposition the frame. So that area here, this light patch, that's my finger. So we don't want that in shot. I'm going to position it just out of shot. Moved up to, like, say, the corner, because we've got these two interesting spots here. Okay, now we can move this down to our timeline. And the part where it explodes is going to go right onto this cut here. Again, because it's shot in 4K, it's only 24 frames, so I can't slow it down, but it doesn't hold us back. Okay, so let's check that part out. So we've cut that directly to when the music ramps up. There you go. So not only do you use the music for your transitions and your cuts, you can also use the music for something that's happening in your footage, such as these explosions of paint. Put it to the beat of the music. And as for the intro, that is simply just drag it there and just shorten it. What we are going to do is add a fade to black. Go to my presets. I've got to dip the black here on my presets. Place that in there, and we want that to finish fading in on that beat. So you can hear the beat right there. We want that fade to black to finish coming in just there. So then I can bring in this footage and this one. Zoom in. And there, because we've got this template, I can just click and drag. Okay, so we're going to drag that into place there. I can drag this one into place. Make sure that's clipped there. Okay, and play that back. In fact, I can slow that footage down. Let's slow this one down. Let's go to 40% again. Drag that back. Okay, that's clipped there. Watch that again. There we go. Beautiful. So that's how you put the footage on. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the footage on there, and I'll skip to that part and we'll start talking about colour grading. We've got a few clips in place. Some have been slowed down. Not majorly important. Again, it takes hours and hours to pick the footage that I liked. Okay, but let's talk about the colour grading, shall we? What I generally do here is I do colour grading in two steps. We have an adjustment which brings all the colours, sharpness, all that up, and then another adjustment layer that puts a LUT on. Here comes the elephant in the room, okay? Let me just save this. There's a reason I have to save it. My system doesn't like two things: 4K footage and colour grading. A typical macro adventure will take me all afternoon just as the colour grade, because every time I put a colour grade on, it crashes out. Okay, very frustrating. It's just a case of this machine was designed for doing space art 7 years ago. It was not designed for video editing. It especially wasn't designed for 4K video editing, and nothing like what I'm asking it to do. So I can't moan, you know, but it can get irritating. Anyway, so we're going to get an adjustment layer. You just put an adjustment layer on just here. Okay, and we'll put that in there. And once we've done that, we want to come over to our colour tab. So in our colour tab, we have our lumimetry scopes, and I'm not going to talk about that in this video because it can get complicated. If you want to know more about that, I might start showing some of this stuff next year when I start my macro adventures again. Once my mouth is all better and I can get outside again, we can start doing that. So make sure you have the adjustment layer selected, and in order to do that, I'm just going to lock off those layers so I don't accidentally select those layers. I'm going to go contrast of 50, sharpen by 30, and I'm going to boost the saturation by 150. Okay, so you can see the before and after there. Okay, now I'm going to come up to the white balance, and when we're doing stuff like this, we don't have to have a correct white balance, which is great. There's no skin tones, so there's no need for it. So I can move this around. We can have more orange or blue. I like the more orangey colours. Okay, once we've done that, we now save it, and then we're going to get another adjustment layer. So this adjustment layer is going to contain the LUT. So we're going to go over to creative, and you've got creative look, and in here we can select different looks. Okay, now in theory I should be able to, I should be able to move my LUT around here. That's a nice one, look, see there, and it's froze. This is the trouble I have when I'm editing my videos. Let's turn those on and off, and you can see there the difference that we are getting. Now when it comes to colour grading, you are limited by the file that you're using and the amount of noise. So if I'll just play this back now, let's just zoom in because we're only concentrating on this one file. Okay, you'll see there's a lot of noise in there, and it's subjective. You have to, it's a thin balance between how much noise there is, how much you push the colours before the file falls apart. Generally the EOS R, I can push the files in that a lot better, a lot further. If I get myself an external recorder, I can do it in 10-bit, which is even better. At the moment I'm recording in 8-bit. But that is how I do my colour grading on these particular type of videos. Now when it comes to macro adventures, you've got to be a lot more careful because there's skin tones in there. You've got the greens and the blues, the vegetation and the sky. These are things that people see every day, and if you push it too far, people will notice. But when it comes to this abstract type of video, you can just push it as much as you want, so long as the file doesn't fall apart. So one thing you notice is here, you got a purple fade to black. To fix that, all we got to do is come back to my editing, and we want to dip to black, and we want a dip to black on both of these adjustment layers, and then we will bring them down to where we want them. Again, I have to zoom all the way in to make sure it is perfect. Yep, you can see there they finish all at the same time, and there you have your dip to black. Brilliant. And all you got to do then is go through and do the whole timeline, and that leads you to this here. There's a big difference, isn't there? One, I have my title. I'm not going to go into details about that. It's a fairly simple title. Just put my name presents to the left. But there's a massive difference in the aspect ratio. That's what I want to talk about, aspect ratio. So I got to this part of my film, and I was like, it's just not cinematic enough. There's something missing. And what I started doing on Macro Adventures is putting in a cinematic feel to the aspect ratio. So what people generally do is they will grab a black bar PNG file, drag that on top, and that gives you your cinematic look. No, don't do that, okay? Just stop. The only time you would do that is when you're basically a newbie, okay? You don't do that. So I'm going to delete that. If you're using 16:9 footage and you want to put in a black bars for B-roll, what you want to do is come up to Premiere and type in black bars. You can crop that in. Oh, hold on a minute. Let me undo my footage. You can bring that in, and you can see there that you've got to do it for everything. So when you're going from 16:9, which is your full screen, to 2.35:1, which is your cinema widescreen, you've got no choice. You have to use those black bars, okay? When I'm doing my Macro Adventures, I do it with my aspect ratio. So let's go and take a look at that now, and I will explain why we do it this way. When I come to my secret settings, and all we have to do is type in our vertical 817. Okay, that's 817 pixels. Again, if you're using 4K, I'm pretty sure you can work out the maths for that. Click OK. This will give us a warning saying our previous files will be deleted. That's great. Get rid of them. I ain't got my hard drive space anyway. And that is how you do your 2.35:1 aspect ratio, your cinema aspect ratio for your epic cinema footage. Okay, and the reason for that is this: the black bars go on top and bottom on these monitors, the 16:9 monitors. On your TV, it looks great. On a projector, it looks great. However, if someone watches that with the black bars, you know, your PNG black bar, it's still a 16:9 video file. So if they watch it on a super wide monitor, which is this aspect ratio, which is very popular at the moment, their video is going to shrink down into the middle of their screen and it's going to look horrendous. You output it like this, your video is actually only 817 pixels high. Your computer, your DVD player, your TV knows that and fills in the black bars for you. So if someone now watches my footage on a super wide monitor, it will fill the entire monitor and will look absolutely mint. And people have commented on how well my macro adventures do look on a super wide monitor. So that's it for this video. Join the Macro World Facebook group if you want to show your footage to other like-minded macro photographers in a safe environment where you're not going to get bullied and you can get constructive feedback on your images. So that's how I edited my Little World macro video. I hope you found some value from this video. If you did, let me know in the comments below, because the more comments I get, the more I will do this style of behind the scenes on how I edit, how I get my macro videos and things like that. Again, I'm still recovering from my surgery, so I can't see there being any outdoor adventures for the rest of this year. We've got Christmas coming up, my car just broke, so I've got to get that fixed again. But there will be a new season that coming out when the bugs start coming out again. I have an exciting new project coming up as well, which you might be very, very interested in. We also have the problem with copper and the FTC on YouTube. I might make a separate video about that and the future of the channel. But until then, my name's Stuart Wood, and again, as always, I'll see you on the next one. Hello, my name's Stuart Wood, and welcome to this video. Now, a couple of weeks... No, it's not a couple of... Why do I... So the music we choose... We're choosing now, are we? That's it, my light has died. And what happens now is when we're editing our footage, it will snap to that mark. For full HD, to get that cinematic widescreen feel... Hold on, let's go back. So I hope you found that valuable. I hope you found some usefulness. The question is, can I actually talk without flapping my hands about? Yes, I can. No, I can't.